Hey everyone, it is Stove here, back at it again with another video, and this time we are going through the preview of Week 10 of the NFL, which at this point of recording, it will be tomorrow, first game of Week 10, and obviously if those who haven't already seen it, there was some wild stuff going on during the trade deadline, and obviously, I was wrong whenever I was talking about the trade deadline because I said it was gonna be 11:59 p.m. at night, but the trade deadline was at 4 p.m. So correcting myself on that one. But with that being said, so much stuff happened, but we will get to that maybe some other time during another video. Or we will get to the small details of what these trades ended up making these teams out to be while we're going over these teams and these matchups. But first game we have, First game we have is the Broncos versus the Raiders. Broncos are 7-2. Had somewhat of a close game last week. Wasn't exactly very impressed on Bo Nix's playing, in my opinion. With I think either a little bit just over or a little bit under 50% of pass completions. It definitely seems very lackluster to see this Broncos team try to they need to show their dominance, and I think the only way that they're going to be able to do that is if they are able to beat the Raiders down wholeheartedly. I know they've shown what they're able to do since they are 7-2, and they're pretty much 2 wins away from making playoffs, pretty much. That being said, though, Geno Smith played incredible last week. Could not ask for that man to do anything else, but I'm pretty sure they still ended up losing anyway. So, I do think with their defense, the way that they're kind of showing, like the Raiders defense is showing that they can't necessarily stop anybody. I think they're in the top 5 of worst defenses in the league. Now granted, I'm a Cincinnati Bengals fan, so obviously that team's on a bye, so we don't talk about them, we don't talk about Bruno for just one damn week. But anyway, like I was saying, the Raiders and the Broncos, it's not really going to be too much of a matchup unless we see Geno Smith doing what he did last week, coming in, playing his absolute heart out, actually playing conservative football, and whenever he gets these opportunities, he takes them. Even with a chance, he still takes them. Sorry, you guys. Random bug that flew underneath my desk. I don't know what the hell that was. But, sorry. I'm getting distracted too easily. But, Broncos are just going to straight up win. I feel like it's going to be a little bit closer, only because if we see the Bo Nix that we seen last week, which I think that was kind of a fluish game, like a weird game type for Bo Nix, and I think we will see Bo Nix throw 3 touchdowns this coming week. The Raiders, however, as long as they're healthy defensively, I think it could end up being a way closer game than what we're expecting. I think Ashton Genty can help make it a close game. Brock Bowers, if he is included in that offense, he can be very much a problem for that Broncos defense to handle. The only issue is, though, they don't have Jacob or it was Jacob Myers. So they're really only going to have these two guys to help Geno Smith win these games. And it's probably going to end up with the Raiders going probably 4-13 by the end of it. At least that's what I'm assuming. So again, Broncos will win. Whether or not they get 9 or more points than the Raiders is really just up to the Raiders, like, confidence and their grit to try to get a win off of their divisional rival. So, but yeah, I got the Broncos there. Colts and Falcons, they're in Berlin, very neutral territory. Falcons played offensively, they played good. I think they did anyway. Defensively, I feel like the last 2 weeks, it's felt like they've gotten away from what their defense has been able to do in the first 6 games. So if they just get back to that, it may be able to make a close game for for the Falcons. And since it's a neutral site, I don't necessarily truly think the Colts, I feel like the Colts are going to be able to do what they need to do and win this game anyway. But if the Falcons handled Jonathan Taylor like the Steelers were able to handle Jonathan Taylor, and even if Dalen Jones throws 300 to 350 plus passing yards and only 2 or 3 touchdowns, granted that's a good thing for the Colts to have that quarterback that's able to do it, but at the same time, if that's the only thing your offense is being able to do, your running back is being limited to only 50 rushing yards, and 15 to 20 rushes, then the Falcons have the chance to get that ball back, to intercept Dalen Jones once or twice, to make it a close game, and maybe even make it by a field goal's chance. But I will still say the Colts are going to end up going 8-2 against the Falcons by the end of that game, around 12-ish. Colts and Bears, I feel like if Jackson Dart continues to play how he needs to play, and we see the defense playing more destructive and is able to pressure Caleb Williams and Swift and keep them in the backfield as much as possible, I think it's going to end up being a close game. About 4.5. It could definitely be suited right there. And the Giants could possibly win by a field goal or a couple of touchdowns if they stun that Bears defense. Because to me, the Bears defense has been very mid. They haven't necessarily shown true defensive domination yet this year. That may be different against the Giants, but again, we'll just have to see about that. So yeah, I think the Bears are going to end up winning this game, with Caleb Williams probably having another solid showing, with Swift probably getting at least a touchdown against the Giants. But some of these games could end up in upsets, but I don't think we'll have a repeat of last week, but again, could be wrong. Bills and Dolphins, even though Dolphins are at home, and you can kind of see the Dolphins have been trying to do some different things, but in my opinion, I don't necessarily think the Dolphins are trying to be better. Yeah, I mean, like that. I didn't think if the Dolphins really wanted to get better, they would have traded some people around. Whether it was defensively, whether it was through any offensive pieces they wanted to move somewhere else, I just felt like it would have made sense. It would have made a lot of sense if the Dolphins would have been a part of that trade deadline, November 3rd and November 4th. But they weren't. At least I didn't see anything. Though the Bills, they didn't really do anything either because they really didn't have to. So that being said, Dolphins could probably make it close to like a possession and a half. And this 8.5, I can agree. I would probably want to take the over because I feel like the Bills are going to have somewhat of a tough time at first, and then they're just going to get the ball rolling with James Cook having a touchdown or two, having 150 plus rushing yards, or just 150 plus scrimmage yards. Josh Allen doing his thing, probably even scoring 3 or 4 total touchdowns. I think it will end up being the Bills. Do I think they're going to massacre the Dolphins at home? That is a question that will be answered after that. Well, during that game. But there's a lot of outline, and there's a lot of things that you can say good about the Bills, where there's probably a lot more things you could say bad about the Dolphins. So, but hey, crazier things have happened in football seasons, even with the Dolphins having no chance of making playoffs. A different Dolphins team, 6-7 years back, have beat the Patriots before. Even though they didn't really need to or have to, beating the Patriots was on their list, and they got that check on there. So, but yeah, Bills are gonna beat the Dolphins, Ravens, and Vikings. This is one of like the 5 games I'm kind of a little about, because looking at what the Vikings were able to do, granted, it was an okay game. They didn't look very dominant, but their offense looked good. Actually, I think their defense looked good too in some different ways. Not in all aspects that they look good defensively. But with the Ravens offense looking better because Lamar Jackson was there. Well, was he? Now I'm confusing myself. But Ravens being 3-5, being on a win streak is perfectly fine. I just think when you're going to Minnesota, granted you guys are from Baltimore, that place gets pretty cold too, but it's Minnesota. It doesn't show like the temperature or what it would be like by that point, but I'm sure it'll probably be one of the colder days of Minnesota, or maybe in like the 50s or 40s. But that being said, I think you have JJ McCarthy hopefully coming back in there like he did last week, coming back in there, being able to tweak a few things and being able to still get 2 touchdowns. I feel like if that's all they can get, 2 touchdowns wise, I think you handle Lamar Jackson, even though it's very tough to handle Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson whenever they both start getting rolling. I think trying to stop both of them is near impossible task whenever both of them are firing off on all cylinders and all angles. I have the Ravens winning. However, and I say however, and they make it this close for a reason. They don't say that the Ravens are going to like absolute dominate them. They're like 8.5 or 9.5. No, it's 4.5 for a reason. And that reason is, number one, even with a healthy defense, even like, so you had some guys on defense come back. That's good. And you had some offensive players come back. That's good. Again, you have two things. The defense itself has been struggling, allowing as many points as they have been. Granted, you can say that the Cowboys and Bengals have done much worse. Yes, I know. But we're talking about the Ravens right now. Even against good teams, even against bad teams, they have still allowed points. Vikings have done the same thing. So it really just depends on which Ravens and which Vikings team we see. Vikings haven't really been doing too much at home, but they've only played 3 games at home so far. This would be their 4th game at home. I can see them winning, but I could also see the Ravens doing what they need to do and beating the Vikings like 28 or 31 to 13 or 16. I just think with the Vikings being off and on, I think if they come in heavy hitting, I think we'll probably see a closer game than what we're expecting, or we'll end up seeing the Ravens absolutely dominate a young quarterback in J.J. McCarthy, not being able to score too much, but the Ravens just end up having a scoring frenzy on the Vikings defense, making it like 40-something to like 20 or 23, and at that point the Vikings would have probably scored most of their points in the second half or fourth quarter. But again, Derrick Henry has had his faults. Lamar Jackson has also not necessarily. He's had some pretty darn good games. In all the games that he's played, he's had at least 2 touchdowns total, I'm pretty sure. So it's definitely something to think about. And the Ravens defense still has injuries. Still have guys that are going to be injured either for the remainder of the season or for another like 2, maybe 3 weeks. But again, it's something to look forward to, especially when they're going into Minnesota. It could end up being 2 different things. I don't think it's going to be very much in between. I either see it being a close game with the Vikings winning against the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry looking at each other like, what the hell? Or you're going to see the Ravens absolutely dominate the Vikings, and everyone's going to be like, oh, the Ravens are back. They're 4-5, but they're back. So that's exactly what the narrative is going to be. Browns and Jets. The Jets have done a lot of things, and I think they're doing this obviously to better themselves, with Quentin Williams now on their defensive line, and with them also having, I believe, technically, they now have 3 first-round picks in the 2026 draft. They now have 2 first-round picks in the 2027 draft, and they have 2 second-round picks in the 2026 draft. So that's going to be very scary to see the Jets being able to capitalize on that. Not only that, but if they don't trust Justin Fields, they can always draft the quarterback while also drafting another wide receiver, and then also drafting a very solid defensive back, whether he's a safety, corner, or both, or a solid linebacker that they can put up. They can truly, I feel like, rebuild their team the way that they have those draft picks. And if it's not for next year, it'll be the year after that, and then they'll see where their team is at that point. If they screw it up, they screw it up. But the way they're going, I don't see the Jets beating the Browns unless they make it like a super close game, like the Jets and the Browns don't score more than 20 each. And that's possible. But with Dylan Gabriel starting to fit in with that scheme of the Browns and being able to see Quentin Judkins being able to do what he's able to do, and being able to show that he's definitely in the top 3 or top 5 prospects of the Rookie of the Year award, at least for offense anyway. You're looking at that like, oh yeah, he's definitely there, with like 2 or 3 others for sure. So that being said, my mind was thinking the Jets, and then I remember the moves that they made just to get draft picks to rebuild their team, because the Jets are not only looking for a first round pick to obviously win a few like 2 or 3 more games, but to still somehow get the number 1 pick or maybe even the top 3 first round pick of the 2026 NFL draft, but to also have 2 other picks, whether in the middle or both of them being towards the end of their drafts. They'll be able, end of the round anyway, they'll be able to pick up some solid players and hopefully be able to rebuild with those guys. That being said, we will see on that one. But yeah, I think the Jets were able to do a lot with their stuff. Oh wait, no, Quentin Williams is on the Cowboys. Never mind, sorry, I messed that up completely. I know some of you guys are like hearing that, you're like, this guy clearly didn't know what happened. No, sorry. Quentin Williams went on the Cowboys. And then the Cowboys gave them like a young defensive tackle or older defensive tackle. I just can't remember his name. But still, Jets probably won't have a solid defense to be able to stop the Browns as efficiently as some of us would have expected if they still had Sauce Gardner, if they still had Quentin Williams. So, again, we'll see. But I think the Browns are going to win that one. Jets are still going to be, still not have a single win at home. Now this one, Pats versus Bucks. Patriots versus Buccaneers. Is another team that was very torn to. To me, it makes more sense that the Buccaneers win at home, going 7-2, Patriots being 7-3. And that's why I picked the Buccaneers in general. But the Patriots, as an away team, still haven't lost yet. And the way Drake May is being able to play, I think it's going to make a lot of sense if they do end up winning by, say, a touchdown or 2 or a possession or 2. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are having a lot of stuff whenever it comes to injuries happen to them, and it's just been a sticky situation for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. However, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have really only dropped losses to 2 of the top teams in the NFC conference: the Eagles and the Lions. Patriots have only dropped to 2 teams, and that was in 2 out of their first 3 games, which was the Steelers and it was the Raiders. So with that being said, and now since the Patriots have basically been on an absolute tear, pretty much, with 5 or 6 on a 5 or 6 win streak. Tampa Bay just lost to the Lions. I think it's going to probably be a little different, but at the same time, I think it'll be a shootout, just like the Seahawks. It could easily be a Seahawks and Buccaneers game where it's an absolute shoot-off and it will end with a field goal, or it will end with somebody getting the last touchdown. I see that being Baker Mayfield. His experience has shown that even in the worst times, he's able to still clutch the wins up. Patriots and Drake May, however, if that offense gets going and that flow of the Patriots offense continues into this game, it will be rough and tough for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield to get themselves going too. Granted, Baker Mayfield's a very good competitor and he loves to compete. However, he's also made, even when he is on the winning side, he has still made mistakes to where it has been because of him that some of these games have been close. Not necessarily turnovers, but just bad decisions on where and how, where to throw it, and and keeping the ball, so to speak. But yeah, I think Buccaneers experience in games like these will beat the Patriots, but that would be more of a coin flip, that game anyway. Panthers and Saints, it's a divisional game, but Panthers and Rico leading that rushing offense, rush first offense. You're gonna see, as long as Rico doesn't get hurt, Panthers are gonna end up winning against the Saints. Maybe Alvin Kamara can keep it a close game, going back and forth with both of them rushing. But I think the Panthers are going to win that one. Houston Texans versus Jaguars. In my opinion, this could go either way. I did choose the Jaguars, but I still think this could be either way. CJ Stroud, the defense of Houston hasn't been good at all. Obviously, with the injuries that they have and the issues that they've been having offensively, offensive line, and also not really having a stable running back to give CJ Stroud the alertness and the confidence that he's going to, they're going to focus more on this running back. So if we do a play action here, they're going to get off that running back and I'm going to be able to have some time to throw it to my guys. So it could end up being Houston going 4-5, which they would need right now to still make playoffs. Jaguars, however, they need to show, if they're wanting to be right behind the Colts, they're going to need to show that, sorry guys, my nose is just itching, but they're going to need to show that they're going to be able to put their division rivals lights out at their own place. So with struggles, I think the Jaguars are going to win it. Even with struggles, I think even Houston can bring up some random thing, and Trevor Lawrence, depending on the Trevor Lawrence we get, of course, will end up seeing who ends up making the last mistake, and the person with the last mistake will end up losing that game. But I do think Jaguars are going to take that win. Seahawks, even with Jacob Brissett, he's been playing very good for the Cardinals. It's been very refreshing being able to see an actual solid quarterback that's like still kind of running for his life a bit. But Brissett, even at the age he's at, is being able to control that offense to a good standard, in my opinion. However, they're still been losing. Besides the win against the Cowboys, they haven't necessarily looked too good. But winning against the Cowboys gives them a good morale boost to face their division rival in the Seahawks. Seahawks are going to be at home, so this is going to be interesting. Seahawks are 2-2, but the 2 losses that they had at home were against some solid opponents. So, being also 6-2, facing your division rival who are 3-5, this could be a very close game. However, Sam Darnold has done pretty darn good, and I think even with Shaheed, I forget how to pronounce his first name, but when Shaheed got traded from the Saints to Seattle, I think it's going to add just one more weapon that Sam Darnold's going to have downfield. And since Shaheed is a very fast individual, they could probably implement some more pass fakes or fake rushes to Shaheed, or a jet sweep with like 2 tight ends or something, with Shaheed going right there and getting the ball going like 20-something yards. I think Shaheed is going to be able to make a lot more fantasy teams or fantasy players happy whenever it comes to getting the ball a little bit more. And I think Jackson Smith, Njaba, and Shaheed, butchering that name, but Shaheed and Jackson Smith, both of them are going to be able to probably be the finest duo that the Seahawks are going to have with receiving core wise. So yeah, I think Seahawks are going to win at home. I think Rams can beat the 49ers, but if Mac Jones somehow turns it on and Christian McCaffrey does his thing, it will be very tough, and it will be a very much back and forth game. As long as no one gets injured, I still think the Rams are going to end up beating the 49ers. With the Rams keeping their number 1 spot in their division, with the 49ers right under, with the Seahawks technically, what is it? With the Seahawks being right under them and 49ers being right under Seahawks. But still, I would never say never for the 49ers, but I just think that the Rams have more of a variety of stars and players that are going to be able to make that impact right now than the 49ers do. And also, the 49ers defense just has looked way worse than the Rams. So realistically, on paper, you think the Rams are going to definitely win this. You're going to see the 49ers at least stay in the game with Christian McCaffrey, Mac Jones doing what they need to do. But if Mac Jones continues to trend the way he's going to be trending, I think he still throws an interception or two. Matthew Stafford may even throw an interception, but right now he seems to be one of the best all-round quarterbacks right now that's been staying in the pocket for the most part, throwing over 2,100 passing yards and 22 passing touchdowns and only throwing 2 interceptions. So with everybody being back on offense for the Rams for the most part, you're going to probably see a lot more success for the Rams than you would the 49ers offensively. Defensively, it's a bit of a coin flip, I think. If Nick Bosa, pretty sure Nick Bosa I don't know if he's out. I don't know why I think Nick Bosa is injured right now. But that's just because I think there's so many defensive players that are out right now and offensive players that are out right now. But 49ers defense shows up, it's going to be a very closer game. But Rams probably won't even need to worry about that too much. They just really need to worry about covering Christian McCaffrey and keeping him in check. Lions and Commanders, there's really no secret. Jaden Daniels may not be out for the entire season, but I think if you guys end up beating the Lions, if you guys end up getting a trail of possibly making it to the playoffs, going 9-8, possibly, and that is a big if, because you guys are going to need to win 6 out of 8 games with Marcus Mariota possibly having Jaden Daniels come back. It's going to be very tough, but I think the Lions are just a more complete team offensively, and the Lions just shut out Baker Mayfield and that injured Tampa Bay offense. I think it's going to probably be the same exact thing against the Commanders. Lions are going to take this one, go 6-3. Commanders are going to go 3-7, unfortunately. Steelers and Chargers, this one is going to be close. I say that even though we've seen Justin Herbert's offense being able to do amazing things when they win, and even doing somewhat amazing things when they lose, but not necessarily. They have already gotten 3-2 at home, and with that being said, there's always a chance for the Steelers to get the ball rolling with Aaron Rodgers. If he can play fantastic game, James Warren can even play a fantastic game, being that running back / receiver that they need from time to time, while also having their tight ends being the focal point, while as also having DK Metcalf hopefully being able to get more catches, get more targets even than the last 2 weeks, in my opinion, because I don't think he's really gotten that much. I feel like he should be getting more. But if you're also going to be not fighting, if you're going to not be able to fight for contested passes like you used to in Seattle, then of course, why are we passing it to you? However, the Steelers' defense could easily, I think if Justin Herbert is already throwing 8 interceptions this year, that's almost an interception every single game. I think he'll end up throwing another interception or 2 against the veteran Steelers. And I think the Steelers' defense have also picked up another safety or corner, if I'm not mistaken. So you're going to more than likely see him in there making plays. Justin Herbert, again, he's done some amazing things with the receiving core he has, but with the sometimes indecisiveness, with sometimes the inconsistency of the offense, and the Chargers defense pretty much also not doing too well either, you can definitely see the Steelers winning like 27-20 or 27-24. I don't necessarily see either one of these teams breaking 30 or more points unless they're kicking field goals at that point. but it'll still end up being a close game, I think. I don't think the Jaguars are going to blow away the Steelers. I don't think anyone should count out the Steelers when trying to make sure that they want to be that number one team in the division, especially with the Ravens coming back like they are. They lose against the Chargers. You got the Ravens winning against the Vikings. You're going to, as a Steelers fan, you're going to be very like, oh my God, like, are we seriously going to like lose more and more games and then let the Ravens still come back from a 1-5 starting record? I hope not. Even though I'm a Bengals fan, sometimes I question my thinking, but I do feel like I'd rather see a Steelers team be number one in the division than have to deal with Lamar Jackson and that Ravens team being even talked about in the playoffs anymore. But anyway, last but not least, we got the Eagles and Packers. I do have the Eagles winning just because they have been a more dominant team. They've shown their struggles against their own divisional teams, but for the most part, I think you're going to see more of a completed game with the Eagles playing than the Packers. Yes, it's going to be a very, very good NFC showdown whenever it comes to the Eagles and Packers. Some people may even say that the Packers, especially at home, will win by 2.5 points. Sure, by a field goal, absolutely. Could it be back and forth offenses, both offenses doing incredible work rushing and passing? And then at the same time, from time to time, we'll see Jordan Love get sacked, or Jalen Hurts get sacked, or a few TFLs here and there. Like, the defenses will be involved with these games. That would be pretty interesting. And I think both teams at this point are pretty used to the cold. So being probably one of the coldest, if not the coldest, game this coming weekend at 30 degrees, it may vary depending, but being at night, it probably won't. It actually probably get a little colder. Both these teams should be very used to the coldness. So I still think it will be the Eagles dropping the Packers to 5-3-1. But if Jordan Love surprises me and beats the Eagles, that actually would put a smile on my face. I would kind of like to be wrong in this match, during this matchup. So that being said, that pretty much wraps up from what I have to talk about. And hopefully I'll be able to get this out before the Thursday night game. And yeah, you guys will be able to hopefully look through this video, because I know how some people don't want to watch 40 plus minutes of a guy just rambling on about NFL matchups. But truly, it is very good to see that you guys are still trying to watch the videos, so I appreciate it. But again, hopefully I'm going to be able to try and put this video out before the Thursday game, and at the same time I'm going to try to put the college football game out, because hopefully if I can put this out like by tomorrow morning, I could hopefully be able to record the college football preview matchups by Thursday night, and then be able to have that out by Friday morning, Friday night, and hopefully maybe even make another video on something else, maybe to talk about, be more in detail about the NFL trades, or maybe even talk about the last was it been like 7 to 8 games of all of the NBA teams so far. But That's if I even have the time. So really no promises. I'm trying not to make too many promises here, but we will definitely see on that. Anyway, you guys, I hope you guys enjoyed. Like, subscribe, comment if you guys have any questions, or if you guys want to like tell me something that I may have not been able to get to. And yeah, I appreciate those 3 likes in the last video. Keep them coming, please. It just helps and supports my thing even more. And as with that being said, I hope you guys have a very nice day. Peace.